Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Grace Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread for today? First two cards we are starting our day off with today are the Queen of Cups in its upright in combination with our Two of Pentacles in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about this energy that we're experiencing right now, because here's the thing about it. It's very dry. It's very analytical. It's very, I want to say it's very stark. It's very harsh. I want to explain why it may be feeling some of this intensity right now. So I want you to think of, there's a few different things you have to take into understanding. The first one is that we currently are experiencing a Venus retrograde. As I mentioned, what does the Venus in retrograde quietly say to us, which can sometimes really get to us? This is why we talk about the fact that it's usually not a good idea to get beauty things during Venus in retrograde cycles. It's not that everybody who doesn't know how to do something beautifying doesn't know how to do it. It's because our perception of beauty can get distorted, right? I wanted you to describe it as almost like that space of looking at something like through a broken mirror, right? You ever have that mirror? You're like, I don't like that mirror. Like, it's a lot of that type of energy. Now, at the same time, right? At the same exact time that we're experiencing that right now, what are we also experiencing? We've got a lot of that Virgo full moon, right? The Virgo full moon, and this is what we love about Virgo energy. Virgo energy is beautiful because it deals with ideal forms, right? Virgos have that beautiful ability to be able to understand and have a very clear view of perfection, much like Aquarius energy, I might point out. Now, the difficulty, and those who have Virgo placements will recognize this, is that Virgos often have to work through the lesson of understanding that perfection is not a location. It is a cardinal direction. It is something that we reach for, but that is always somewhat out of our grasp, right? Because working through that space, and that's the thing about it, that feeling that perfection is sometimes its own blockage point, right? So at the same time, I just want you to imagine, I'm going to keep on showing you this to help you understand why you may be feeling this, or why you may be feeling a lot of anxiety, or why you're feeling a lot of over concentration right now upon the self. I want you to think about the fact that we've got the dual energy, the dueling banjos, if you will. Okay, we've got the dueling banjos right now of the Venus in retrograde that says everything is ugly. Everything is ugly. And then we've got the Venus full moon energy that says everything must be perfect. Everything must be perfect. And then we've got the amplification point of the amplification point of the eclipse, which is like, turn the volume up, right? Like, turn the volume up, just make it louder, right? So you've got like the energetic distortion, and someone's just turning up the distortion, and it's a lot, right? And this is what we do. What do we do when we start to feel that energetic distortion? We allow the love in, right? We lead with the heart space, right? We find the courage to care. We find the space to be able to communicate from a place of authenticity. So I want you to just think about that right now, because I know a lot of this energy, it's rough. Like, it's rough stuff. And I kept on describing the fact that I feel like the Leo full moon was a little bit of a dress rehearsal for what we were experiencing, because it is about holding compassion for the weight that one carries, right? And I need to point this out. If you're feeling that sense of operating from a place of feeling the weight of something not being perfect, that's exactly where I want you to start putting the love, right? Because it's in those moments that we allow for that space of not being perfect. It's a moment that we allow for that space of compassion. The compassion for the self is something that immediately extends to all of those around us. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that space right now. And, and I want to say, like, it's hard. Like, it's actually like saying to me that it's hard to be or to feel compassionate when one is feeling, I keep on describing this, and I'm really glad that we're doing that we're actually focusing on the judgment, like the justice card tomorrow in our classwork, because the thing about this energy is it almost like feels like the calibration point of feeling of over worrying about being judged, right? Over judging the self or over judging others, right? So that's why I'm actually finding that this is a really beautiful time for us to be opening up and studying that card, because it's going to help us kind of understand and identify like what that energetic feeling comes from and how we can calibrate through it. Center card for our 5-card spread to get some clarification on how this is impacting all of the different frequencies. And I need to point this out. We've got here the 10 of Cups in its upright. So I want to say that there's something really important and very valuable right now about, like I said, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do when you're feeling that energetic weight of judgment upon the self? You allow for that space of compassion to come in. You allow for that space of focusing and prioritizing on what one can do to allow for that easement point, what one can do to create that sense of energetic peace around the self. And I need to stress this right now because it's very important. There's a lot of this weight that we're recognizing and identifying in the space of navigating through an ideal, right? Because I'll tell you right now, one of the vibration points that we're experiencing that is so difficult right now is that weight of feeling something that is not energetically ideal, right? But when we go through that, and I keep on seeing that to a certain extent right now, some of this energy might be feeling a little bit like, I want to describe this as like forced shadow work, right? Because it's like all of those doubts, all of those fears come like crawling out of the woodwork sometimes when we're feeling a lot of this energetic intensity. But when we're able to navigate those with a sense of compassion, right? When we're able to navigate those with a sense of empathy, that ability of doing so, it can provide, it's its own breakthrough, if you will, right? Because that is the moment about that we're able to recognize and identify what feels like it is integral. Now, this is having a different impact depending on where one finds oneself on the frequency cycles. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is, I want to say, that is in separation, I keep on seeing that there are new partnerships that are occurring right now, right? There is some energetic restoration here, but the thing about it is I keep on seeing that it is the difference. It is all about feeling the certainty about sharing sharing a mutual direction, recognizing and identifying the force of that, being able to effectively see it. Now, for masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now is coming through in the space of focusing on manifestation goals, right? And we've talked a lot about this here, right? That one of the gifts that we give one another is being able to perceive what it is that those plans are. So I keep on hearing like the breakthrough that's happening with some of this eclipse cycle is being able to recognize and identify. I keep on seeing the difference between feeling an abundance of emotions, right? Versus something that has direction, right? Because we can hold a lot of emotions for something, but the clarity that we give to each other in partnership is about where that direction is. It's being able to see what that destination is. Now, a lot of this, and that's why I keep on seeing, and this is why I keep on, like, one of the things that I see that is happening here is if these are situations or scenarios where another individual is moving in that space of trying to find perfect before building into the destination that where something is going, that's where I see a lot of separations that are occurring, right? Because it's coming through in the context of understanding that perfection, as we mentioned, is it's never, it doesn't exist to a certain extent. It's a cardinal direction. And so if these are situations or circumstances where progress was not being made or path was not being shown because something was not perfect, I see a lot of the closing out of those cycles in that space, specifically because that is the definition of recognizing effectively that that space, like perfection, is never achievable, right? It's always somewhat out of reach. Whereas at the same time, I see a lot of new partnerships that are evolving or expanding at this time, specifically and particularly in the realm of understanding, of again, letting go of expectation for one another and building in the context of mutual expansion, right? So that's what's interesting about this. I keep on seeing new partnerships that are coming together and the closing out of cycles that are built upon and based upon shared pathwork, shared mutual outcomes, being able to define and articulate upon those points. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, and that's why I see that this may be feeling like very like intense, because I'm seeing either two different modalities in separation right now. And in some cases, I'm seeing some energy that's going through both of those circumstances all at once, right? And so a lot of that force or a lot of that weight that we see that is occurring here, it's like I keep on hearing, it's like the sigh of letting something go or the intake of breath and feeling the expansion as to what it is that you're moving towards. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're effectively seeing during this time, I keep on seeing that this is the recognition point of, I keep on seeing the wound behind the wound, if you will. Being able to see something to a certain extent that one hasn't seen before. And whenever we have those moments, it can feel very, and here's the thing about it. Like I see that there's like a lot of energy coming into divine union right now that is working through some feelings of, I keep on seeing this, like it feels like a lot of that purging energy because it's working through seeing something that one couldn't see before. And sometimes in those moments, we feel a lot of the weight of what it is that we're carrying, right? I see that a lot of the energy coming towards one another in this space as we see the energy coming into divine union. It's like that expansion point that speaks towards trying to articulate and find the words to communicate what one is discovering about oneself, right? So that's why I keep on, and this is why I'm just even describing here what I'm seeing basically for masculine and feminine energy right now. Masculine, it's feeling more like a space of openness. Masculine is feeling like they're more in a space of energetic expansion. Feminine, it's feeling much more like they're coming into a space of honoring the self and honoring the journey. Now, for the energy deep within divine union, everything I keep on seeing here, as we've discussed, has to do with a heart expanding moment, right? And the thing with a lot of that heart expansion that we're identifying and recognizing at this time has to do specifically and particularly with the fact that I keep on seeing it's bringing out different qualities and characteristics for masculine and feminine. For masculine, I'm seeing that this is a lot of that desire to open up, a lot of that desire to share the journey, right? A lot of that desire to be able to communicate upon what one feels. And so this is why I keep on seeing that this is bringing out a lot more of that. I keep on describing this as gregarious energy, right? The masculine that's coming forward in such a way as being able to want to communicate and express and share their journey right now. For feminine, a lot of that heart expansion, it feels much more like a going inwards, right? If this is the feminine that felt like they had to kind of be in that space of giving and giving and giving of themselves, this is the feminine that's coming more into a space of selectivity, right? This is a lot of the feminine energy that is healing from those experiences and trauma of the past, where it felt like the feminine was in that space of just having to give more and more and more of themselves. So even here, there's a lot of that difficulty point, because I see that this is a lot of the masculine working to expand further, right? Working to come into that context of opening up more, and feminine's doing the same exact work, but working to refine and articulate what it is that they feel. Continuing to get clarification on these points right now between our 4th and 5th cards in our 5-card spread. We have here our 3 of Swords in its reversal in combination with our 4 of Wands in its upright. Now, you know, like as I'm talking about that heart expansion, you know, this is what we're seeing a lot right now with a lot of this like 3 of Swords. It's not easy, right? It's like that ability right now, like that work. You know, whenever we're working on the heart chakra, it's whenever we're working on the heart chakra, it can feel very painful, right? Because and I keep on seeing this. It's like that ability to work through and feel the I need to describe this, and we talk a lot about this. When we love, we fear, right? And here's the thing that's important to recognize about that, and this is why it's really vital that we do shadow work, right? We talk a lot about this. Trauma is often not created in spaces where there is not love. Like, this is what we have to identify here. Often trauma is created in spaces where there is too much love, but another has not done their shadow work effectively, right? We talk a lot about this here, because what happens in those moments that we care a lot about like for someone, but we carry too much fear, then in those moments, what we try to give forth to another, it changes. Our love doesn't feel like love, right? This is how trauma occurs. So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this work that is being navigated right now in relationality to working through that energetic hurdle, if you will, right? We heal from the fear within ourselves, right? We face the fears within ourselves to be able, so that our love feels like love, right? Because when we do not heal from the fear, then often when we try to love, our love feels like fear, right? Love requires us to be energetically courageous. Love requires us to be able to face our fear, right? Because in that space, you know, and this is why we talk about the fact that like that determination point is what moves love out of the space of being selfish, right? The love that feels good because it indulges the emotion of feeling good, as opposed to recognizing and identifying the gift that we give to another, right? Like how that energetically expands, what that feels like, how we communicate through it. So there's a lot of, I keep on seeing there's a lot of this work that is being like, worked in this space. And it's funny too, because I'm almost hearing like a lot of the work that's occurring during these moments is the fabric of love that is effectively being restored to a certain extent. And the fabric of love is restored in those moments that we are conscientious that the love that we give to others doesn't feel like fear, but that we encounter or work through the space of our own fears so that we can confidently love another in a way that feels like love. Now, this is effectively happening across all of the frequencies right now, and that's why we're seeing that it's having a different impact. For a lot of the energy deep within divine union, I keep on hearing like there's a lot of this work as it relates to trying to communicate in such a way of setting the, I keep on hearing like setting the energetic standard, like pushing oneself in ways that one hasn't before, right? There's a lot, I told you, it feels very scorpionic, to be honest. And I need to understand why. I'm still not sure why. I'm still not sure why the energy deep within divine union right now is feeling so scorpionic. But the reason that it feels scorpionic is because there's a lot of that space of transformation here, right? There's a lot of that desire to like find the ability to find the version, like to find I keep on seeing like find that highest version of self, working in that context, right? Working in that space of being our best. And that's where I feel like a lot of that scorpionic energy is coming through to a certain extent, because it's a lot of that space of feeling the desire to do so, not just for the self, but for those around the self, right? Like that's the gift that we often have when it talks towards love. It's like we are brave not for ourselves, but for those that we care about, right? So that's why I see that there's a lot of that Scorpio energy there. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this energy is discovering. That's why I keep on seeing that this is the energy that feels like they're discovering the wound behind the wound right now. Because if this is energy that has changed, often it's in those moments that we change that we can see something about the self that we couldn't see before. And it's not uncommon to carry pain of the past self, right? It's in those moments that we honor how far we've come, but we also look towards those moments as a space of being able to recognize and honor that sometimes, I keep on hearing, sometimes we heal from things after the fact because we've become the person that can finally see what it is that we needed to heal from. I know that sounds a little, I hope that it sounds a little like it sounds a little, and that's because Neptune is moving into like that, because Neptune's moving out of Pisces and into Aries, right? It's the ability of saying like, it's like sometimes I keep on seeing like, when I'll put it this way, this is the best way to describe it. When you're in the water, you're moving with the water, right? When you step out of the water, you can see the way the water moves. And so like I see that that's why a lot of this energy moving into Aries is moving away from something that they may have been too emotional about at the time. And as a result, they're able to heal because they're starting to get a better perspective on something, right? While for energy that is in separation, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of this energy and separation, this is where I see like the most shifting that's happening right now. And it's intense because I see at least 3 different modalities here that are occurring for energy and separation. And the direction, and honestly, the direction that I see the energy and separation and moving towards is the energy that feels like they share a mutual direction. Continuing to get clarification between our Queen of Cups in its upright in combination with our 2 of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify, especially with this Page of Swords in its upright. There's something very important to recognize and identify. And this is all of those planets that are moving into Aries effectively, right? Because it's working in that space of and I don't want to say this right now. There's a little, like, the thing with Aries energy that we have to identify is that Aries does not have a lot of patience. Okay. Aries does not have a lot of patience on things. It's very, like, the patience is very, like, Aries don't come here with patience. So that ability of doing so, that ability of working through something to a certain extent, that ability of, like, I just keep on seeing, like, there's a little bit of this, like, snappiness right now. I mean, it's not a little bit of snappiness, it's a lot of snappiness. Why did I say a little? It's a lot. Because if it feels like everyone is snappy right now, it's because there's too much energy in Aries. We got Mars sitting in Cancer right now, right? And then we've got almost all the planets, like, just hanging out in Aries. And we've got the only planets lingering outside of Aries are moving into it right now. So it's like everybody's feeling triggered. Everybody's feeling at their wits' end. Okay. Everybody's just feeling like FAFO. But that's why I keep on seeing that it's really important right now to lead with a space of compassion, to lead with a sense of not feeling protective or defensive, right? Because I keep on saying, like, fear makes us cower, right? Fear makes us feel hurt. Fear makes us want to have that woe is me mentality, or the effective space of projecting out. But when we come into that space of balance, and I keep on seeing this, it's the overcorrection of not getting, again, this is why this work is so difficult. Like, this is a type of energy that wants you to be hard on yourself, right? It wants you to, like, it's like the energy or the vibe is like one that makes you like feel bad about being yourself. Or simultaneously, it's the energy that wants to push towards others and feel snappy towards them. When we're in a space of recognizing ourselves, we typically don't over blame ourselves or try to blame others. We just look at what can be achievable, right? And done in the circumstances, right? It's a lot of that space of, and I keep on seeing that this is, like, why it's heart opening, because it's moving in that space of authenticity that we often find the courage and confidence to give voice or to articulate upon what we feel in our heart space. And that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energies that are coming together right now during this time, it feels very much like chariot energy, right? Because these are the energies, and this is really important. These are the energies that we're identifying and recognizing. And we've talked a lot about this here. We are not responsible for anything that we feel about one another, right? Except for the quality of confusion, because confusion is always something that we can clarify for each other. So the thing I keep on seeing is there's a lot of this work or a lot of this space that is happening right now that is allowing for clarifying conversations, right? To see what feels like it has direction versus what feels like it creates confusion. Right? There's a lot of that. I keep on seeing that there's a lot of that. The advantage point of the Aries and Virgo is a lot of that focus upon what actually feels like it is progressing forward versus anything that just feels like it is existing in a confusing state. Now, for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, for a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now, I just keep on seeing that there's something very vital and important about, and this is what's difficult about a healing journey. It's often in those moments that we arrive and find ourselves that we suddenly recognize that we have a lot more to heal from, right? It's like those moments that we look back and we suddenly identify how much more work we have to do. So there's a lot of this energy here I keep on seeing that is feeling like a lot of the energy that is coming into divine union right now is feeling the mutual weight of having a breakthrough and also understanding the assignment, right? It's like a lot of that, it's a lot of that force, if you will, that is requiring a lot of that space of being able to appreciate how far one has come, but also articulate upon how far one is going. Now, for masculine and feminine, that is deep within divine union right now, I keep on seeing that there's something very valuable and important in recognizing and identifying like what that space of, like, I keep on seeing, like, finding energetic confidence, being able to articulate upon it. There's a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, that is working in the context of the self. And at the same time, like, I feel like a lot of this is not being too hard on the self in the process, like letting that compassion, or finding ways to lead forth with compassion in the midst of a lot of energy that makes it feel very difficult not to be too hard on the self, or to be too hard on those around the self. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Pentacles in combination with our Ten of Cups in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? There's that Devil card again. Now, you'll recall we had that same card that was popping up yesterday, but I want you to see the fact that it's kind of moved through the frequency right now. Now, let's talk a little bit about this energy. You know, I want to tell you right now, that's what's difficult, because the Venus retrograde, okay, the Venus retrograde in combination with the Virgo retrograde, it requires us to be in a space of being able to articulate upon our fear, right? Like a lot of that, and I keep on seeing, like, especially in that space, I want to tell you, it's the matching, it's the matching like energy of feeling the Venus retrograde that says everything looks worse than it is, okay? And then the energy that says everything must be perfect, okay? That is the space that, if we don't bring compassion in, it can create a lot of feelings of anxiety. It can create a lot of feelings of fear. But when we're able to move through that with a sense of compassion, right? When we're able to lead forth with love, it allows for a lot of those breakthrough points, because even in the space of feeling a lot of that harshness, right? We find our energetic center, right? We find the voice of love within us. So I keep on seeing that, like, this is a lot of that work as it relates to navigating anxiety, right? And what is the poultice that we put on anxiety? We put love there, right? We put reassurance. We put clarity. Now, for a lot of the energy in separation right now, I keep on seeing there may be a lot of healing. Like, I keep on seeing the difference that is occurring right now in the space of, and I keep on identifying the difference between what one is in the process of healing versus what one is healing from, right? Because a lot of that, I keep on seeing that, like, a lot of that work on surrender is the observation as to something that just feels like it's energetically painful, right? Versus identifying what feels like it's progress. And often in those spaces, and we talk a lot about this here, when someone has a lot of emotions for us, but they aren't able to give us clarity, that's often when the emotions start to feel like they're painful, because we feel like the emotions lack purpose, right? It feels like it creates that space in us wherein, it feels like it just holds us in place instead of giving us wings. So there's so much that we're seeing here that is difficult, and especially for the energy and separation, because I keep on seeing that amplification point of identifying something and feeling the frustration in not being able to see what those directions are, or simultaneously someone feeling the weight or feeling the easement of receiving that clarity of direction from another, and suddenly recognizing what the difficulty or hurdle was that they could not see in a past context. So I keep on hearing that there's a lot of this energy right now in separation that is going through a lot of those bittersweet transformation processes. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that I'm identifying right now, coming into divine union, I keep on seeing that there's something really important as it relates to recognizing what one is healing from in the past, right? And it's sometimes in those moments, and we talked a lot about this, carrying the frustration, carrying the frustration of the self. Everything I keep on identifying here is showing me that for the energy that's coming into divine union, working through those processes, feeling that frustration with the self, but allowing the ability to articulate through it, allowing the ability to give voice to it. This is what's helping the energy to heal, because I keep on seeing that this is the breakthrough that a lot of the energy coming into divine union is having as it relates to communicating through something that one is feeling as opposed to reacting to it, right? There's a lot of that energetic fortitude that we're seeing here. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is deep within divine union, everything that I keep on seeing deep within divine union right now is, I keep on, this is the transformation process, right? It's not easy. It's frustrating. I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this work that is occurring right now in deep within divine union that is articulating upon what is bothering the self. And I feel like the breakthrough that's happening right now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union is being able to find the words, being able to articulate upon a frustration, right? I keep on hearing finding the language, if you will, to be able to communicate upon something. And I keep on seeing this is allowing for that space of working through something that is not ideal, but working in the space of not getting bound up in the fact that it's not ideal, but finding that energetic breakthrough point, continuing to get clarification between our 10 of Cups in combination with our 3 of Swords in its reversal. Can I please get one card to clarify? We've got here a lot of that 4 of Pentacles in its reversal. And there's a lot of heavy 4 energy here today. So let's talk a little bit about the 4 energy, because the thing with the 4 energy is, and I gotta tell you, it's working through some of this expansion point that we're experiencing between this eclipse cycle. Because sometimes we have the eclipse cycles and they feel, I keep on saying, sometimes we have the eclipse cycles and they feel I want to describe this as they can feel effervescent, right? They can feel bubbly, right? They can feel very profound. The thing about this one is it has to do with the fact that we're experiencing the eclipse at the same time as we're having 2 heavy planetary retrogrades. We're having the retrograde of Venus and we're having the retrograde of Mercury, right? And so what do those 2 planets in retrograde say? Everything is going wrong. It's everything is going wrong. It's a lot of that space of like working through some of that wrongness, if you will, right? It's like, it's like it gets so frustrating. But when we're working in that space of identifying what's wrong, right? When we don't focus on what's wrong, but instead focus on what's right, right? This is how we become solutions focused, right? Not problem oriented. So there's a lot of this space right now, and it's very hard because the thing is, the energy itself wants to create like a space of making one feel very focused on the problems, right? So what do we do when we feel a lot of that focus in relationality to the problems? We work through the space of identifying the solution, right? And that's where I keep on seeing, like, that's where the force of love comes in, because it's allowing for that space of being solutions focused. It's allowing for that space of solving problems. It allows for that space of working in the context of identifying what needs to change or how we can expand, that allows for that possibility of breakthrough. But the energy, but going through it right now, it's hard because it feels like the amplification point. It's like all you can look at are the cracks, right? Continuing to get clarification between our Three of Swords in combination with our Four of Wands in its upright. Can I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Seven of Cups in its reversal. It's very hard. Just listen to me, right? It's very hard right now not to work in the space of feeling energetically distracted. I keep on saying, not getting distracted at the cracks, right? Not getting focused upon everything that's going wrong. It's like working in that context is trying to apply that space. And we talk about this too, right? Flaws, like consider the concept of a flaw. The concept of a flaw exists in the concept of an ideal, right? And when we're working, and this is what's difficult about these Virgo lessons, like coming through this eclipse cycle, that desire to find perfection is how we see ourselves, right? Like ultimately, that's effectively like what that sense of perfection should be. It's working in the context of being able to recognize and identify what it is that we aspire and desire for, right? And so I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this work that we're identifying that has to do with not, and here's the thing, when we get overly focused on flaws, we forget that those things that we find are flaws are what make us ourselves, right? That the ideal form of the self exists in the space of identifying that you are effectively energetically unique, right? And often when we have that feeling of the crushing weight of another's expectations on us, it becomes too easy to look at ourselves as someone that is inherently flawed. But that's why when we come into that space of returning love back to ourselves, giving that force of love to ourselves, we don't see flaws there. We identify those flaws as facets, right? We don't have to exist in the space of being perfect, but we exist in the space of trying to be a perfect version of ourselves, right? And in those moments, it's in that space that we start to love ourselves. It's in that space that we start to embrace those aspects or those qualities that make us unique. This is what I talk about right now with like the solution to some of this energetic feeling is to allow the force of love to bring compassion to those spaces, right? It doesn't require perfection. It's understanding that the need or the desire to better oneself is the energetic gift because it is something that is always out of grasp, but something that we always reach for. So I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy across all of the frequencies right now, being able to work through that right? Working through, and I keep on seeing the judgment that one feels towards the self, or the judgment that you feel that others place upon the self. This is how we heal, because we lead forth with empathy. We lead forth with compassion. Now, for a lot of the energy right now in separation, working through those experiences, I keep on hearing the energy that's in separation is moving forward in that point of vitality by identifying and feeling the gift of clear directions. That's why these partnerships that are forming during these eclipse cycles right now, they feel like they're powerhouse energy, because this is the energy that looks to the self and says that that point of recognizing and identifying and feeling that viability, being able to work through that, being able to have those breakthroughs. This is the energy that builds into that sense of saying to oneself, as long as we have the same directions, there's nothing that we can't do, because it's allowing for that expansion point. While I see at the same time, I see a lot of closing out of some energetic cycles right now in separation, feeling the viability or the frustration of situations where it's dwelling too much in the space of feelings, but lacking a clear sense of direction. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Swords in combination with the Devil card in its upright. Can I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with that Knight of Cups energy. So a lot of this work that we're seeing at this time, this is the thing about it, especially with the Knight of Cups in its reversal. We have to talk a little bit about this right now, because especially for Virgo and Aries, Virgo and Aries look at feelings so much in the space that they say feelings have nothing to do with it. But the reason that Virgo and Aries often say feelings have nothing to do with it is specifically because for the energy in those modalities, Aries often channel emotions through activation, right? Aries like to put the emotions somewhere that they can see them. That's why there's a lot of physicality that we often identify with those with Aries placements. Virgo energy often likes to be in a space of like holding the emotions sacred in what moves them towards their higher self, right? So I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this release process that's occurring right now as it relates to working through the emotions that feel like they create, like the emotions that feel like they create like weight, that don't feel like they provide direction, right? There's a lot of that space here. And so I keep on seeing that a lot of that chariot energy to a certain extent, like it's almost like working in that space of not having a lot of patience for anything that feels like it's not moving in a progressive fashion. So for everything that we're seeing here, like that's why we keep on saying it's really important at this time to try to bring a little bit more empathy to situations, because that clarification point, I keep on seeing this is the energy that says to a certain extent, it's not so much about just having the feelings, but being able to move those feelings into a place that provides direction. Continuing to get clarification here between our Devil card in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Swords in its reversal. Now, this is really intriguing. Make sure that you take a minute to head over to our Substack to view the photo of today's spread, because what we basically have that's occurring here is we've got the combination force right now of the 10 of Cups with the 10 of Swords in its reversal. And what's really beautiful about that combination force of energy is, and this is what we talked about right now. I want you to see this, right? This is the effective energetic vibe that we're currently experiencing. Because look, what is the Venus in retrograde cycle say? The Venus in retrograde cycle says everything is not perfect. Everything is ugly. Everything is ugly. Everything is hideous, right? And then we've got the Virgo energy that says everything must be perfect. Everything must be perfect. What do we do to navigate between those points? We recognize that we're doing the best that we can. We embrace the flaws so that they become facets. We work through the context of finding the courage and confidence to be the self, right? Because when we're able to lead forth in that way, it allows for that process of expansion, but it can also be very frustrating in the process, right? It's working in that space of identifying what feels like it's energetically restorative rather than perseverating or creating. And this is what often happens in unhealthy connections, right? This is energy and separation that's moving in the direction of healing from situations that we're articulating that there could not be any movement until something was perfect. Remembering and recalling that perfect is not a location, it's a cardinal direction. It's always away from us. We're never achieving it. Versus those spaces of working through the context of feeling like one is like everything is awful, right? So this is a lot of that work right now. I keep on seeing the breakthrough is understanding that I keep on seeing the energetic connections that are forming at this time. I keep on hearing them say, we do the best we can with what we have. We do the best we can with what we have, right? We don't wait for the perfect situation to arrive. We create perfection by identifying what it is that we can achieve, right? Continuing to get clarification here between our Four of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. We have here our Page of Pentacles in its reversal. So a lot of this weight, a lot of this pressure right now, and I need to describe this, that feeling, I keep on seeing, I keep on hearing the pressure or force that, what's really beautiful about this, and I just want to explain what I'm seeing here to a certain extent, is we're under the false premise that by putting pressure upon something, we create something that is perfect. But what's actually beautiful about that is when we put pressure on something, but then we also bring love towards it, right? It's a combination force of understanding that space of love that we give to each other. And often, this is what we talk about here, that often when we care about something, we work not to put too much pressure on it, right? Because it is the difference between feeling the full force of love, but then finding gentleness within it. And I keep on seeing that there's a lot of energy and separation that is articulating upon situations or experiences wherein they are defining and articulating the fact that they work very hard to calibrate themselves so that I keep on hearing there's some energy and separation that is healing from situations or scenarios wherein someone cared about them too much, but their love did not feel like love, right? Like that space or that force of saying to another, looking back on something and saying, no, I can see the fact that it wasn't due to a lack of caring. But often if one cares too much but hasn't done the work of the self, then that love that you want to give to another doesn't come through as a sense of love, right? And that's why I keep on seeing that's the energy that was feeling the mutual force of saying to one, it's not about trying to be perfect, right? It's not about trying to bring someone into a space of being perfect. It's not about the space of overly being too hard on the self because one doesn't feel like you're arriving at the place that one expects to be. It's doing the best that one can in the circumstances, right? And so I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy here, being able to work through that context, this is what's allowing for that space of, I keep on seeing viability, because this is the energy that articulates themselves to a certain extent, that they're finding that space to be able to communicate. So like in a way of saying that the gift that they're giving each other is clarity, right? And that clarity, like that same clarity we're identifying, is coming towards the energy coming into divine union, because this is the energy that I keep on seeing is recognizing something about the self that they couldn't see before, that is allowing for that context of a breakthrough. And that's why I keep on hearing the energy that on like one side is like patting themselves on the shoulder because they've had a breakthrough, but then looking and seeing all the work that they have to do, right? Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within union, I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy working through that space, there's something really important to articulate upon. So much so that I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy in that space, having that breakthrough, being able to talk through something in a way that you couldn't before, that is what is allowing for a lot of this expansion. But it's frustrating. It's hard because there's a lot of those changes that one is feeling within oneself that is helping another define and articulate upon what that is going forward. Continuing to get clarification here between our Knight of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Ten of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? We've got here the Magician in its reversal. So the thing about this energy right now is it feels very rough, right? It feels, I keep on seeing, it feels very much like it's working through waves of frustration. It's working through a lot of those spaces of identifying what one is still trying to navigate or what one is trying to articulate upon. So one of the things I keep on seeing that's going to kind of help with this is make sure, like I need to say this across all of the frequencies right now, make sure that how you are expressing or what it is that you're trying to say isn't allowing yourself to be triggered. It's not coming into a space of being energetically volatile. Because the thing is, with all of this Aries energy, there's a lot of this feeling of pressure. There's a lot of this weight that we're experiencing. And so when we're talking in the realm of emotions, it's always really valuable and important to be able to articulate upon and bring our own prescriptions to things, right? Remembering that the emotionality that we feel is always a gift, so long as we articulate to another why it is that we feel the way that we do. Continuing to get clarification here between our Ten of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Page of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Pentacles in its upright. Now, one of the things I keep on seeing here, there's a lot of work that's being done in the space of nuance, right? And I got to tell you, this is the thing about this energy right now. It's working in the context of recognizing and identifying what does and does not feel ideal. Now, here's the thing about it, and I need to kind of sit, like, we just need to kind of look at this. It's not the fact, right? And this, I know how hard this is right now, given the fact that with the dual force of this weight, right? That feeling, we've got the sensation of the desire for perfection. We've got the frustration that we feel that everything feels the opposite of perfect right now, right? This is where we allow our compassion to guide us, right? This is like, it's almost like saying to me, being able to expound upon and express the dream, right? being able to find that space of being able to articulate upon what that dream is. This is what allows for that expansion point to grow. But it needs to be, it comes in a space of being energetically fortifying. Now, for a lot of the energy and separation, I keep on seeing that ability of doing so, being able to find those directions, being able to set that intention in the space of identifying what that looks like. These are the new energetic connections that I see that are forming at this time, because this feels like it's building into the context of what that map looks like, right? It's working in the space of those plans. It's being able to articulate and describe that. While for a lot of the energy that is coming into divine union right now, this is a lot of that work that I keep on seeing. Like, that's that dual word. Like, that is that moment of both. I keep on hearing exhalation and frustration in feeling that force of identifying how far you have come versus how much further you still have to go. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is deep within divine union, I keep on seeing that there's a lot of this work that is being navigated right now, particularly in the realm of, how do I describe this best? Like, this is a lot of that Scorpio energy that's coming through that feels like the architecture for personal transformation, for personal growth, for identifying what the shape of that is. And I keep on seeing that ability to describe and identify how one feels is allowing for its own expansion point. Final card for today's spread, between our Magician card in its reversal and our 10 of Pentacles in its upright, we've got here our 9 of Swords in its reversal. So this is exactly what we mean as we're talking about allowing for that space of compassion coming through, right? There's something really beautiful and profound to be occurring here. And I know, like, listen, I know that this energy right now, it feels very harsh. It feels very intense. It feels very raw. But that's why when we're able to kind of bring in that space of compassion, we're able to bring in that space of like empathy. I keep on seeing like taking some of that emotionality that we experienced from Pisces, all of that work that we found in Pisces, and being able to kind of bring that compassion forward. There's something here that we're seeing that is allowing for a deep degree of healing. But, and I got to say, this is most intense for the energy and separation right now. It feels bittersweet, right? It feels like a lot of that space, because I keep on hearing that for energy and separation, it is identifying what feels like it has the ability to change versus what one is accepting around a circumstance or situation, right? And I keep on hearing that for a lot of this energy in separation, the ability to identify like where that works begins, like being able to work in that space of recognizing and feeling that. That's why these partnerships that are coming together at this time, they feel like powerhouse energy. They feel like that energy that says like what we do together, like, you know, we can accomplish anything so long as we stay very focused on those goals, so long as we stay very focused on what that pathwork looks like, right? Because, and this is the energy I'm seeing in separation that is healing from situations or circumstances where someone was showing an inability to move forward because there was a lack of perfection, or because someone was being too hard on themselves in the process. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, something that I'm identifying here that feels like it's transformational has to do with that space of identifying how far one has come, right? And there's a little bit of that space. I can see like this is the energy right now that's in divine union, that's working through that dual calibration of holding space in relationality to how far one has come versus how far one still has to go, right? Often when we reach a point of understanding of the self, we then identify what that work is that we're leading ahead of ourselves at this time. So everything that I'm seeing to a certain extent here, it feels like a lot of energy that's in that space where they're setting new standards for themselves. They're holding themselves to a higher like point of appreciation. And that brings us to a lot of the energy right now that is deep within divine union. Because I just keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy right now, deep within divine union, having those breakthroughs right now working in that space, holding compassion for the self in the process, this is what is allowing a lot of that expansion to occur, because it's remembering, and again, this is the message that we're going to keep on saying during this retrograde cycle. Perfect is an ideal. It's something that we reach for, that we move in accordance to, but we don't allow ourselves to be blocked or defined by it, because often when we work into the space of fearing becoming too perfect, we're not able to achieve the things that we desire, right? So having that ability of identifying and adapting, this is what's allowing for that growth process. But there's a lot of healing that is happening right now, particularly for the energy in deep within divine union, as it relates to not feeling the weight of expectations, but almost healing the weight of expectation by having compassion for the self and for those around the self. Bottom of the deck on today's reading, we have here our Justice card in its reversal, which is very timely considering we will be doing the class on the Justice card tomorrow. So a lot of this work that we're doing and navigating right now, I keep on telling you, it's having to feel the weight, right? The crushing weight that we often experience as it relates to the feeling of trying to navigate perfection, right? Perfection of the self, the feeling of perfection of trying to meet the expectations of those around us. But when we inquire upon, when we invest upon what that feeling of perfect is, right? We recognize that effectively that feeling of perfection is moving in accordance with trying to find balance within the self, right? It's working into that ideal of the self. So being able to recognize and identify that, to be able to, I want to kind of say, if you're feeling that right now, I would like you to get into the practice of like writing out or identifying what you feel like that space of perfection is, right? Because the ability to introspect upon it, the ability to work through the facet of how one feels, it's going to help right now, because I keep on hearing that this is a good time to heal, like to heal from the aspiration of perfection, because it's in that moment that we look towards perfection, not in a space of feeling judged by ourselves or those around us, but holding empathy and working in the context of trying to find our highest version of self, that we find that there's a lot of that healing and that sense of restoration in terms of what it is that we're trying to build and achieve. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my website. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our recent class on the Wheel of Fortune. Our next class will be held tomorrow at 8 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Justice card. If you would like to become a part of our tarot class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my Substack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also have access to, as a monthly subscriber, over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Archive. Now, it's not necessary to be able to catch up for each class. I will do my best to give you a recap on everything that we've studied thus far, but the material is there for you to receive when you are ready to receive it. You will also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've studied or are learning thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also have full access to the entirety of the Tarot Church Library archive. You will also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your impact going forward towards your personal tarot goals. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us on that journey. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about our in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as well to any new classes or programs I offer. Speaking of which, I'm happy to let you know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my clients seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I also want to thank you guys and let you know that I'm also offering dream interpretation readings. These can be purchased on an individual level or as a series. I do ask that if you purchase the series that you make sure to keep a dream journal, as we will be utilizing the tarot to understand the key messages and themes that are coming towards you in the dream space via use of the tarot. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again.